Did giving me a hard time during a time that I was going through a hard time will never be forgotten. Now, you try to be nice and kind to people and feel like you can trust them. They will talk about the person that they're throwing you under the bus to. They'll play both sides. That's how people are. Now, they would call him a master manipulator and a gaslighter, and they will call you up specifically to trash the person. And, but then they'll go and throw you under the bus as if that conversation you just had. They'll omit what they said and did, but they'll throw you right under the bus. So during a certain time with those people, I remember that guy, the one I always speak about, the one I still love, he's welcome back in my life once changes are proven and a discussion is had. Um, he was doing stupid things with that guy that I spoke about, that narcissist I spoke about. Um, and as someone who was with this person every day, I recognized him doing these things was a sign of his mental health declining. Now, the girls he was friends with at the time, of course, they would enable this behavior for the sake of having a good time and going out and partying and drinking and things like that. And they look at it as, oh, we were supporting him. No, you weren't. You were enabling his bad behavior and his delusions with this situation. But little did they know that I had just rejected him. Whatever, that situation was what it was. I had rejected him in a sense. He was using that guy to get my attention. But of course, I was so oblivious to that and thought the discussion we had that night where he said, oh, why can't we end up together? Wasn't me rejecting him. It was me just thinking he was joking around because, like I said, he was my gay best friend at the time. I didn't know he had any feelings for me for all these years. So any actions that I took after that was genuine on my part. And I was obviously oblivious to the fact because he was my gay best friend. But then the moves he made afterwards once again confused me. I was very confused in this situation. But we'll dive into the situation at hand. So, the reason why I discovered all these people weren't my friends and they were all fake was because that guy was in a situation where that narcissist guy who had previously wrecked his 4-year relationship. Well, the other guy, his ex wasn't innocent. I will say that. He was a bad boyfriend, but he wasn't a bad friend. So I held no issue with him, but for obvious reasons, I couldn't remain friends with his ex boyfriend. As much as he was a good friend to me, he was a bad boyfriend. But that doesn't excuse that guy from doing what he did. But I was friends with the ex before they got together. So when he was off dating the guy who wrecked his relationship, which, like I said, once again, that to me was a sign of mental health decline. Um, I did become an ally with the ex because he was my friend and I needed support at the time because I was dealing with a person who, yes, I didn't realize that me rejecting him was causing him to push me away and get closer to that other guy, but it also didn't excuse his behavior. Like I said, none of that didn't excuse his behavior. But I did get closer to the ex. We were close friends for 2 weeks. I was hanging out with him, but I was being given an ultimatum like, oh, you can't go to his birthday was at the time. He was having a birthday party. This is how it all started. So they broke up. I rejected that guy, and then that guy started dating the guy who wrecked his relationship. And that's how the whole situation started. But I was still friends with that guy, even though I had just rejected him and didn't realize that maybe he was pulling away. Was because he realized we couldn't be friends because he was in love with me. Whatever the being may be, whatever the reason may be, that was that. And then, so I became friends with the ex while I was in a falling out with my best friend at the time because I needed support. It wasn't because I was trying to spite him. Yes, a little bit was because I was trying to spite him because I was mad at him. Because how could you choose the person who wrecked your relationship was disrespecting you over the person who supported you the most and was the realest to you and did so much for you that okay, let me just choose this person. And he did point blank tell me when we were sitting in Cheesecake Factory. He point blank told me, oh well, if you don't want to hang out with this guy when I'm around him, then you'll be seeing less of me and I'll be seeing more of him. And that to me was like a knife in the heart. Yes, I get where he was coming from in a sense where like I had just rejected him, but we didn't speak about that because I didn't think anything of it because I thought he was just joking. I didn't take him seriously because, like I said, he was my gay best friend, and I thought that's what he was. I didn't know he was in love with me, and that whole situation that transpired between me and him after this whole situation and after our trip, I was. I will admit I was very confused. One minute he was bragging about how gay he was, and the next minute he was in love with me and we were happy and this and that. So that situation between me and him came with a lot of confusion. Came with a lot of confusion. That's something for me and him to speak about when we eventually talk. But like I said, this situation at hand was before all of that. This was while after his breakup, fresh off of his breakup, he was talking to the guy. He was, yes. So there was that. But I became friends with the ex. I was already friends with the ex. He, threw me this beautiful birthday party that January before everything happened. He was a good friend to me, but he was a terrible boyfriend. So why couldn't I be friends with him? Now that I look back at it, I'm like, oh, obvious reasons because you were trying to, you know, you were trying to. I see now why. Now it's all clear to me now why. Now that I have the clarity, it's clear to me why I couldn't be friends with him because it just makes sense now. But at the time, I was like, oh my God, why is he doing this to me? Like, I didn't think, I'm taking accountability right now where I'm like, okay, I didn't think that because he was in love with me, I couldn't be friends with his ex because he wanted something with me. And I will admit, while he was still with his ex, we did kiss in his cousin's apartment. To me, it meant nothing in a sense where like I was drunk. I was like, kiss me. And I didn't know he was in love with me until he actually admitted to me one night. That's another story for another time. He admitted it to me point blank. I've been in love with you for years. But that's another story for another time. But the guy who was cheating with his ex was in the room with us at the time. And obviously he told him. But like that happened before. That was like the beginning of January. The end of January, they broke up. But this whole situation happened from February up until like July, maybe. But at the time, he was doing things. I didn't agree with him dating this guy. I'm like, this guy's obviously a piece of crap. Like, he literally cheated with your boyfriend. He was talking to one of our friends who introduced him to the group. And now he's coming onto you. Like, clearly he's a homie hopper. We all knew this. And didn't stop it. And he clearly, if he did that to them, what's he going to do to you? And I was right about that whole thing. He ended up being a piece of garbage to him as well. But listen, let's push me aside because like I said, I did reject him in a sense multiple times. And I didn't think of that at the time. I didn't think of his side of it. I only thought of my side. Like, why is he doing this to me? Like, hello, let's wake up and smell the coffee. Like, there's a reason why this is all happening. And wake up, you oblivious biatch. Like, I didn't think of that at the time. And listen, I take accountability when accountability is due. But like I said, then during that time, though, let's circle back to during that time. People were reaching out to me. Like, I was still friends with him. But I was also like hanging on by a thread in my friendship with him because he did just say to me, well, if you don't want to be around me and this guy, then because I didn't support it. I didn't think him dating him was right. One, as your best friend, I saw what this guy did to you. I saw him for who he was. But also, like I said, his side of it, I rejected him, so he was using him for attention. And also, he did like him. But like I said, that was a sign of his mental health decline. So I saw what was going on. I worried about him every day. He was getting distant from me. I worried about him every single day. because as somebody's best friend who I loved him, I still love him, but at the time he was my best friend. That kind of love. I loved him. He was like at the time a sibling to me, and I cared about him deeply. Even those people who were partying with him, I look at them and I said, "You guys enabled this. Instead of speaking up, you guys went out partying with him. You hung around this guy." I took the more drastic approach and I said, "Wake up and smell the coffee. I don't want to be around this guy." But of course, these people were all like, "Oh yeah, let's go partying. Let's go do this. Let's go do that." And I didn't support it at all. So I may have become the enemy for a moment, but like I said, I didn't enable any of that behavior. I was real with him. I kept it real. So there was that. But at the time, I had people reaching out to me being like, he has no remorse for what he said or what he did. Like, these people were trying to divide us for obvious reasons, and I'll get into that in a minute. But people were reaching out to me, and the friend that brought him into the group, you know, he kind of, I felt bad for him. So when I was told that he was talking to the guy that wrecked his relationship, I was told on a night, he was like, "Listen, I got to tell you as my best friend, I got to let you know." The first thing I said, I started crying, not because I looked at it and I said, "What are you doing?" I looked at it in more of a sense like, "What are you doing? Like, how could you do this to our friend who likes him? How could you sit there and play the victim of your relationship with your ex to everyone, but look what you're doing now?" Like, I looked at it in more of a broader perspective, as I do in every moment that things like this happen. Anyway, so after that happened that night, I went home, and then people started like reaching out to me, and they were like, "Hey, because it was a very crazy situation." And even though these people were reaching out to me, they were doing it for their own selfish reasons. They wanted the tea, and they wanted to divide us further, because why are you reaching out to me to get tea, giving me the tea to make him look bad, and then you're giving him the tea to make me look bad, only to make yourself look good? So it was one of those things where it was like, okay, like, whose side are you on? Playing both sides. They did it with the relationship with the ex. They did it with me and him, because people are funny creatures. They really are. Like, they'll be your friend, get the tea from you, give you and talk all this shit, and then they'll go and talk all that shit to the same person, throw you under the bus, and then throw that person under the bus to you. So to me, I had no allies. That person had no allies, but he thought he did. He still remained friends with those people. But like I said, so they reached out to me. "Oh, he has no remorse, blah blah blah." So everybody that I vented to, his cousin, the friends, all those people that I reached out to, they all threw me under the bus while throwing him under the bus. So like I said, they're not in my life anymore. They could be in his life. Good for him. Good for you and your forgiveness. But I will never look at those people ever again and call them a friend, because I saw the hard time that they gave me during times that I was having a hard time the most. I was slowly losing my best friend, and he was having mental health struggles, and I was trying to be there for him. Well, obviously I see now, because of the situation at hand, he had feelings there for me, and I rejected him, so he went with this other guy. And obviously the people were trying to make themselves look good for their own selfish reasons. And they, the one person that brought him into the group, it's funny because when he broke up with the ex initially, that friend had absolutely no reaction when he woke up the next day and was told, "Oh, by the way, I caught these two. The guy you brought into the group that you liked was cheating with your best friend's ex-boyfriend, but you have no reaction to it, clearly because you like him. And I knew this all along." So that guy is the one who was cheated on and started dating this guy who was whatever. It's like a whole soap opera. It's like ridiculous. So he had no reaction. So after the breakup, I noticed that friend that brought the guy into the group started like trying to make plans with him, like, "Hey, you want to go to the coffee shop?" But want to go to a coffee shop or whatever. And we stayed in, like, me and my best friend, who's that guy. We laid in bed. We had Chinese food. Like, he didn't want to go out with that person, but clearly that person had his own agendas. Now that that guy was single, of course this guy's gonna like, "Oh, okay, let me try to swoop in." I saw it for what it was. People may not see it that way. He may deny it. I think he liked him, because even when they went to a Christmas party for their work. He wouldn't dance with him. And he got so upset. Why did he get upset? Because he liked you, clearly. So now he looked at me as like, oh, okay. Let me throw this girl under the bus any chance that I get because it's going to make me look good. Why do you think he was trying to make himself look good? He was trying to divide and he, he was trying to get that guy to himself. I see it for what it was. You can call me any type of name you want, but that's exactly what the situation was. They could still be friends, whatever transpired between them after I stopped talking to that guy is their business, whatever, but I will never consider that person my friend ever again because I saw him for what he was. He can still be friends with that guy, but never again will I call that person a friend. Not a trustworthy person, all for himself. Even his cousin. I was friends with her, but she was character assassinating her cousin, all while, you know, throwing me under the bus to that cousin she was character assassinating with the guy who introduced that one guy to the group. His sister was going along with it. And all of this situation was transpiring. All these people were throwing me under the bus, throwing him under the bus. And all this while, the thought in my mind was, I just want to end my life. Like, I have no friends. All these things are going on. You're trying to divide me and the one person who was like family to me. He was like family to me when I was distant from my family. All these people were trying to drag us further and further apart. Yes, we had our key role in that on our own. We'll take it, whatever. But these people were trying to further divide us. And this person was like a brother to me, even though things turned out to be more than that. But it was like, okay, but this person meant the world to me. And you people are trying to take that away from me. And you people aren't even my friends. So why are you doing this? You're trying to divide me from this person who meant the most to me. And it's like, and then you're not even my real friend. You're throwing me under the bus. You're throwing him under the bus. So what is your motives here? So like I said, I don't trust anybody. And if you see me by myself now, it's because I don't trust anybody. I am isolated by choice. I am social. Like I'm social with people. I have people I still talk to from my last job, but I'll talk to them through text. That's as far as I'll go. I don't like it's not that I have like, it's not like that I have issues, but I've seen the worst in people and I've trusted people and they've done nothing. Not just one person has done this to me, multiple people. So to me, I am better off mentally keeping myself and keeping people at arm's length in a sense where like I can trust people, yes, but that's after they've proven to me that they can be trusted. And these people at this time led me to a point of suicide ideation. And it's like one of those things like 13 Reasons Why. Like they all, most of those people, if I was like Hannah, I think it was Hannah Baker, they would have all gotten a tape because I was at that point. But like I said, I came out of that situation stronger during that time. Yes, it was a tough time, but I was also accomplishing a lot of things in school. Like during that time, I may have been mentally struggling, like with the situation at hand. I was losing my best friend little by little. I was worried about him still, even though we were being drifted apart. I was still worried about him because clearly his mental health was not okay. And it was just a really trying time. But at the time, I was accomplishing things. I won my debate for one of my classes, which led me to get an A in the class. It upped your grade, which was great. I got top 4 in one of my class's presentations. I got top 4 in the class. So I was accomplishing a lot. And I also, during the time, was nominated for social media event coordinator for the internship that I was doing, and I won. So while all this craziness was going on in my personal life, professionally, the things going on at school, I was accomplishing a lot. And it was just, I came out the other end. Yes, at the time I was like, oh, like I just want to end it. Like I'm over this. I'm done. I want to leave this world. I didn't look at the bigger picture and say like, okay, I need to be here. I have a purpose. Like there's a purpose for me to serve. And I came out of that situation, you know, with clarity for people for who they are, but I also stayed strong and I looked at it as, yes, the situation is just temporary because clearly things got better after that. It gets better, people. It gets better. And I came out the other end stronger. In the moment, I was like, wow, I can't do this anymore. But now I look back at my life, that was almost 2, 3 years ago, and I'm in a better place. It got better for me. I'm in a mentally better place. I came out of that situation only triumphant in the end. And I look back and I say, okay, that was a little blip on the radar, but it gives me, I have a purpose now where I can share this story for a reason. Not because I'm like reliving and rehashing the past. Yes, it's rehashing the past technically, but it's for a purpose. It's for me to tell this story to say, like, you can go through situations like that and come out of it the other end, only to be a stronger person and fulfilling a purpose where, like, you can tell your story to help people and know that they're not alone, that things like this happen in this world, but you can come out of the bitter end of it. And instead of being bitter, and you don't become those who hurt you, but you become a better person when you choose to heal yourself and get the help that you need. Now, that was the first situation that um I was being thrown under the bus by people. And like I said, I'm not. I wrote all this up on my phone, but I just shut my phone off and put it to the side. I'm like, let me just tell this story from my heart. Let me tell this story from how I recounted it. Let me not read anything. Let me just tell the story how it was from my side. Okay, so the second story, we all know. Like I said, I'm not gonna bring up the situation with the deli ever again unless it is, um, it's relevant. But I'm bringing this up because it had to do with my PTSD recovery. The first story had to do with suicide ideation. The second time has to do with PTSD recovery. And like I said, this podcast is mental health based. I'm telling these stories not because I'm trying to start trouble, because I'm trying to tell my story to help the next person in their recovery or their situations in life. No, they're not alone. So let's circle back to the second situation. We all know the situation with me and the deli. I spoke about it. I chose to put it to bed, but I'm bringing it back up for relevance to this topic because I'm trying to give people more of a sense of, like, yes, I went through these things in my life, but I came out of it a stronger person, and you can too. You can go through things. You can go through tough things and come out stronger. So, talking about the situation with the deli, I dove deep about the situation at hand, the traumatic day, but I didn't dive into, like, just the people I was dealing with at that job that also contributed to me when I decided to quit, not just because of the traumatic situation, because of the people I worked with. So we all know the situation with the guy who got a job with me, who I was speaking to years prior, hadn't spoken to. I stopped talking to him because I said, "Do you want a relationship?" He said no. He said no, blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay, that's not what I want. So I stopped talking to him. Little did I know he was a catfish, who, whatever the situation was, I spoke about it. But the girls we worked with, he made friends with everybody. And everybody, it made it easier for them to turn on me when things went south between us for a little bit. But those girls clearly liked him, and they liked him enough to look at me as a non-factor where they would purposely do things to spite me. Like, there was one day this girl who liked him that I worked with. Me and her were clear opposites. She was the type of girl who was like, I want to be taken care of. I want to be a princess when I get older. You know, I want to be taken care of by a man. I don't want a job. I want a husband who takes care of me, stay at home. Look, that you can be a stay-at-home mom and a princess. Do what you want with it. I'm the type of girl where I want to work for my money. I want to work, well, whatever that may be. I want to work. And I was working 60 something hours a week, going to school, doing an internship. I was building my life up so I can get to a point where, like, I can have the money to support. I want to be the breadwinner of the family. I don't want to be the one staying home. Like, I was the type of person, I don't believe in gender roles when it comes to relationships. So, like, I could be the type, I go out to dinner with somebody, I'll pay for it. You don't have to pay for it. To me, there's no gender roles in the relationships that I was in or the people that I was with or talking to, because, like, I'll spoil you. You don't have to spoil me. Let me spoil you, or we can bounce off of each other and spoil each other. Like, I don't look at myself as the type of person who wants to live that princess life. I want to be able to take care of somebody. I want to not have to, like, listen, I think things should be 50-50, or they don't have to be 50-50. Let me take care of you in a sense where, like, okay, I can take care of you, but you don't have to take care of me in a way where it comes to money. Like, money doesn't have to be the factor. It could be taking care of me in a sense of, like, you take care of my mental health. You nurture it. You take care of me in a sense where, like, you care about my mental health and your actions and how they are affecting me. But this girl was the opposite. She wanted to be taken care of. She wanted to be spoiled. Whatever. That's her business. We were opposites. But, she liked the guy that I had his attention. Little did she know he was at that job because he was chasing me. They didn't know what he was doing behind the scenes to distract the other guy. Whatever. We all know this story. I won't repeat it. But these girls liked him, and they stopped at nothing to spite me. And, like, there was one day where the line at the job was, oh my God, backed up. She was on register 3, which was the catering and all, and the orders and all that stuff. Her friend, who was best friends with the guy I was talking to, was they were talking, and they were purposely not helping me kill the line because they were spiting me because I was talking to that guy. She was talking to him during a time where me and him weren't talking. Like, there was a period of time where we weren't talking because I had just gone through ending a situation with that other guy. And he was like, he was, that's a story for another time. Like, whatever. But, these girls were talking to him during the time, and they were just friends. And she thought it was like, oh, he was talking to me. He liked me. So now that he's talking to her, F her, like, she took this guy from me. Like, that's not what it was. He was there for one reason. It was for me. And this he was talking to them in the meantime to keep himself busy, obviously. And these girls felt slighted, and they were taking it out on me. So they would spite me in ways where, like, they wouldn't help me with things. They would tell the bosses on me and rat me out to the bosses. And, like, it was insanity. It was insanity, and clearly he did not want them. I don't care if he wants me at this point. I'm at a point where, like, I'm over him. I bring his story up because there was more to him than just me and him working together and talking. We never slept together. We only spoke to each other and whatever. But these girls clearly wanted to throw me under the bus to a point where, like, it got to a point where they spited me so much that in a moment where I was having a traumatic life situation happen, they took that as an opportunity to throw me under the bus to my bosses to spite me. Because previous to that, the girl who liked the guy that I was talking to, the princess girl, what we'll call her, princess weirdo, she was fired because she always at that job did the bare minimum, and I was pulling my weight. I was going through a stressful time, working my butt off for this girl to just sit there and come into work, sit there. She just stands there. She didn't do anything. She sat there and did nothing. So there was one day we were all so fed up with her because she just did nothing, and she would always leave early, or she would take her break as soon as she came in. She was doing a lot of things that made us all angry at her because we were like, come on, she does nothing. She just contributes nothing. Let's get rid of her. Because, like, when I would tell my bosses we need to get rid of somebody, it wasn't because of the one reasons the assistant manager had. The assistant manager had reasons because she was obsessed with the baker of the deli. And she saw these girls as, like, oh, they were getting his attention, get rid of them. I would tell my boss to get rid of people for very valid reasons, not out of jealousy, but out of, like, okay, they're not good workers. They're bringing us down. Like, and this girl was there for like a year to the point where they got rid of her. And I didn't tell them. First of all, the assistant manager ratted her out when she got fired. I didn't. The boss asked me about it. So I said, okay, this is what she did. Blah, blah, blah. And she got fired. So clearly, besides the fact that I had the attention of the guy you liked, now you got fired from the job. So now you're looking at me as I'm at fault. And now any chance you get, you're going to throw me under the bus regardless of the situation at hand. So I could have just gone through a very, very traumatic situation where whatever, you don't care, but because I was involved in your friend getting fired for actually not pulling her weight at the job and being a terrible worker, but because of the attention I had of the guy you liked, let's throw her under the bus and give her a hard time during a time she was already having a hard time. What did these situations have in common? I'll let you think of that. I'll let you be okay. It has a guy in common. We're going to give her a hard time when she's already having a hard time. We don't care about her. It has selfishness involved. It has like it's weird. It's weird. These people clearly don't care about the next person, and it is what it is. But that situation led me to PTSD recovery, not only because of like the traumatic situation, but it also, while I was recovering from my PTSD, I was I was having a profound sense of like not trusting people because that prior situation with those people I was friends with to the situation of the people I worked with where they didn't care enough to snake me for their own selfish reasons. Like, listen, whatever reason these people didn't like me besides the fact that they liked the person or they wanted to look good to the person, whatever. But not all of them were doing this because they liked the person that they were throwing me under the bus to. They had other reasons because of they were family with that person or they were friends with that person. It didn't always have to revolve around that. But most of the time it did revolve around that scenario, which wasn't fair to me because I was only kind to these people. Why am I the villain? I always say, why in these situations when I have a guy's attention, why am I the villain to other people? Like, why am I the bad guy? Why are you going to throw me under the bus to make yourself look good to this person? And that didn't only happen in those two situations. There were situations, I won't even name the places that these things happened, but there was situations where I had the attention of a guy, and these people know who they are, where like the littlest things they would find to throw me under the bus to that person to make me look like I was doing something bad when there was a reasonable explanation for that. Where it's like, all I take from these situations is, where do these people that you're throwing me under the bus to, where does their heart lie at the end of the day when you're throwing me under the bus to make yourself look good to that person? But where does that person's heart lie with? Okay, so you're throwing me under the bus to make yourself look good. Yes, it'll make them mad in the moment, but where does their mind and heart wander when, at the end of the day? So I'll always look at it in that sense where, like, okay, people are clearly selfish, but this is why I isolate myself. And yes, isolating myself has been a huge detrimental factor in my mental health recovery because I'm recovering from the situations people have put me through, but also what role did I play in my own suffering? I look at it as, what role did I play in my own suffering? Did I trust people too much? Was I too kind? Was I too nice to people? What did I do to piss those people off? Like, did I do anything wrong to them? Is there something I have to take accountability for that I'm not seeing? That's like I said, it's not always them. It could be me in some senses. It probably was me in some senses. I did play a role, and it takes two to tango in situations, but most of the time I found it to be situations where, like, if I had a guy's attention, the girls who liked him wouldn't hesitate to just throw me right under the bus and look good. But at the end of the day, look where it led those people. But like I said, it was what it was. I've moved on from those situations. I'm bringing this up because it did involve suicide ideation, the first situation. The second situation was playing a role in my PTSD recovery as to, like, okay, I was recovering from the situation at hand. My mental health was very, very, very vulnerable, but I also, besides recovering from the scary situation, I was recovering from being a people pleaser and being nice to people who only just didn't care and would snake me. So Is recovering from not trusting people. It was a very loaded recovery, my PTSD recovery, because it came with a lot of things that I needed to, like my childhood trauma, my trauma from dealing with people, my trauma from dealing with a scary situation. There's other things at play. Now, the first situation caused suicide ideation. Now, people who contemplate suicide are experiencing intense emotional pain and may view suicide as the way to end this pain. Now, this pain they're feeling may be due to any number of experiences, circumstances, and it was having the people that I cared about and that I considered friends and I was kind to were were betraying me and throwing me under the bus. Now, negative life events can sometimes act as triggers for suicidal thoughts or behavior. And that whole situation, like I said, my friends throwing me under the bus, it must have caused me immense pain to a point where I no longer wanted to live. Now, that situation could have been one of my, like I said, one of my reasons why all those people would have gotten a tape, but like Hannah in 13 Reasons Why did. But I stayed strong and I held on. And today I'm sitting here alive telling my story because, yes, it gets better. Those 3 words mean the world to me. And for many reasons, I can sit here in a better space mentally and say it gets better. And they hold such a powerful meaning in many different aspects of my life. I came out of those situations and those 3 words, it gets better, blessed my life and continues to do so. If you know, you know. Now, the toes you step on today will be the foot in your ass tomorrow. Best believe it. And now, now I said that, but if you or anyone you know is struggling, text HOME to 741-741, the crisis text line, for a free confidential conversation with a trained counselor at any time of day, or text or call 988, or use the chat function at 988lifeline.org. Now, I know everyone has heard that the LGBTQIA plus suicide lifelines are being taken away. For whatever reasons, I believe it's disgusting that they're taking it away, but I won't talk politics. This is a safe space. But Canada did open up a lifeline for those struggling, and the number is 1-877-330-6366. Now, let me repeat that. The number is 1-877-330-6366. Kindness has no borders. I will share that lifeline from now on, along with my other resources, to bring attention because for whatever reason, the president is taking it away from a community that needs it the most. And now listen, like I said, I won't talk politics, but as far as episode 31, I'm really not sure yet. I've had I want to take time to get inspired by other things. Like I said, for some reason it always hits me, and like it'll be like hours before I want to decide to record something. Like, oh, let me talk about that, and then I'll type up like my story so I know I don't miss anything. Then I'll look up the resources. It comes to me like that, and I want to get inspired this weekend. I'm going to spend my weekend getting inspired by whatever it is that it may be. Now, I'll see you guys for episode 31 next time. I love you guys. Stay well and enjoy your weekends. Bye-bye, guys.